Rendering text to a canvas is a fairly straightforward process. There's only three main functions we use. Those include measure text, fill text, and stroke text. So in this demonstration, I'm going to show how we can use those functions. So to get started, I'm going to define some text, and we'll just do something simple like hello world. And then I need to set what is the font size and the font I want to use. And we do that off of the context through the font property. And we'll say 40 point with Arial. Now I can do stroke text or fill text if I want to write it out to the screen. Let's go ahead and do a stroke text first. We'll give it the text, and let's say we want to start at 50/50. And if we run that, you should see hello world is written out, and you can see it did stroke it as opposed to filling it. Now if we wanted to come in and fill it as well, we can do fill text, and we'll give it the same parameters here. And if we run it, it's just going to look all black. You can see a little bit of a fill there and stroke combined. It doesn't look too good. Now to see the difference, let's go ahead and set the stroke style. Let's maybe change that to navy, and let's set the fill style to yellow. Now if we run this, you're going to see it's going to work, but it won't look super great, and I'll explain why. So you can see it did work. Let me zoom into that a little bit, but it's not real crisp, you can see. And that's because the fill went on top of the stroke text that we did. Let's go ahead and move this up. And by moving this up, it'll make it a lot cleaner looking because it's going to do the stroke after the fill was done. And so if we go back to kind of normal view there, it looks a lot better, a lot crisper. So that's an example of how to get started using the fill text and the stroke text. Let's go ahead and add the measure text function into the mix. So I'm going to come on back to our code and let's comment this out. And I'm going to paste in a little sample code that I already have prepared here. That's going to do a very simple loop and write out the text, but we're going to use measure text down here. So I'll get to that in just a moment. So we're going to start the font size at 10. We're going to loop from 5 to 25, incrementing by 5 each time. And ultimately, that's going to take our font size and increase it by 5 each time. And so what we'll do is we're going to write out some dynamic text based on a font size. We're then going to set the font size dynamically based on this font size variable. Then we're going to measure the width of the text. We're going to use the measure text function, which takes the text to measure, which includes also the font size that we've used, and basically gives us back the pixels of how wide that font is. Now we're going to use that in our fill text down here. So you can see we're going to jump it down by Y, and then we'll increment our font size by 5. So measure text is a great way if you need to find where the text should go, such as how do I want to center it on the screen. Well, to do that you need to know how wide it is, and this will let you get that. So if we run this, you'll see it'll simply spit out some text here. Now you'll notice that the text up here, if we were to flip this on its side here, that's the kind of difference between the two. This one, if you flipped it on its side, that'll go all the way up to the top, and that's the width of that. And it just kind of bumps the text down based upon how wide it is. And it's bumping it down from the top. That's why there's this gap here initially. So each of these bumps down a little bit further because it's a little bit wider, of course. Now later in the course, I'm going to show you how we can use measure text in a little more useful way to determine how to center some text on a chart that I'm going to show you how to build from scratch. So we'll be taking a closer look at measure text as we move along in the other modules in this course.